In 1987, Mrs. R has known me for 10 years. She is a very pious and kind-hearted Buddhist. She started making clothes on a granny-style sewing machine more than 30 years ago. She kept toiling at it until she eventually established a garment factory. After years of struggling, she has expanded the factory to hundreds of employees and sells the high-end shirts among the products successfully to the European market. Although the scale of her factory is small, but the quality of the products is excellent. She can persevere and withstand the competition of the same business and the test of trends. Under the difficulty of labor shortage in Hong Kong back then, many factories shut down one after another, but the R's factory is still standing as usual, and her business is booming. For many years, Mrs. R has been working hard with the workers, also taking into account the welfare, education, and health care of the workers' family members. She even went to the hospital to sympathize with the sick children of the workers. Therefore, her factory employees all respect and love this kind boss. Mrs. R is a very devout Buddhist. She learns the compassion and devotion of the Buddha, so she values righteousness, regardless of wealth, and does many good deeds. She is a kind and compassionate laywoman. She loves employees like her own children, without the ambition to be a tycoon of the shirt industry. If she has this ambition, her talent is more than enough. Her biggest wish is to let the hundreds of employees in the factory have food to eat, and everyone is healthy. She only wants to learn Buddhism, recites sutras, and cultivate. She could have retired a long time ago, and she often tells me that she hopes to retire someday and practice quietly in rural Canada. However, she can't help worrying that once the factory ends, the living of hundreds of employees will be in trouble, and she just can't let it go. And I often advise her not to retire early. I think she should maintain such a great factory, providing life needs and job opportunities to hundreds of employees and their families. This is also a kind of charity. On the other hand, if hundreds of people are unemployed and lose their livelihoods, that would become an unfortunate social problem. I think her operation of the factory contributes to both society and the economy. Giving and helping people are both matters of practice. It is not just meditation and reciting scriptures in a Buddhist room that are considered practice. I'd rather say that giving and helping are even more important than meditation. Based on the same beliefs, Mrs. R becomes good friends with me. Over the past 10 years, her family members have become more and more cordial to my mother and me, as if we are a family. Although her husband, Mr. R, is a descendant of a noble family, he has no dandy habits. He is also a diligent person, trimming the trees, mowing the lawn, cleaning and washing dishes. He does every chore personally without others' help. I get along well with him. 10 years ago, he had eye disease with blurred vision, and doctors were helpless. Under my advice, he changed to a vegetarian diet. After a few years, his vision has recovered. Now he can come to visit me in his own car. However, I still disallow him to drive in the evening, and only allowed him to come out during the day. He recites sutras, sits still, practices, and labors at home every day. He is my comrade. He is a very silent person. When coming to my home, he just asks for some Buddhist teachings and scriptures, or some vegetarian information. The R couples and their daughters come to my home occasionally. We have a vegetarian meal together and talk about Buddhist scriptures and Buddhist principles. During conversations, we sometimes mention the relatives and friends around us. I'm able to know that Mrs. R has a clever, capable, reliable and loyal assistant, Miss Y, who shares the load with her in the Hong Kong factory. I have never seen Miss Y, but I describe her appearance and personality to Mrs. R, and not be very off the mark, making the R family very surprised. When I'm in a good mood, I often sketch down the appearances of strangers I've never met in advance to surprise them. Sometimes I draw people who will visit me later. I wait at the door, just when the strange visitors come in, I hand out the sketch one by one to them. My painting skill is okay, and I am good at sketching portraits. I can draw this kind of quick sketch in just 2 minutes, and I can capture the characteristics of the characters to some extent. Therefore, the visitors who see these vivid portraits are all astonished. Miss Y has some health issues. I tell Mrs. R about my foresight. I said that I could see a fibrosing tumor in her uterus, which will cause uterine displacement and trigger severe pain. I expect that it may develop and worsen within a year. She must see a doctor as soon as possible to cut it off. In addition, I tell Mrs. R that Miss Y's husband, Mr. C, will have liver cancer within 6 months. Such nonsensical predictions will certainly disgust people. I can't help but tell Mrs. R to transfer this message to her assistant, Miss Y, to get medical treatment as soon as possible. Meanwhile, I know that neither of the C couples believes in Buddhism. Mr. C is obviously a Christian or a Catholic, but I hope he learns to be a vegetarian. Some Christian hospitals also promote vegetarianism, and people shouldn't regard vegetarianism as a Buddhist superstition. People in industry and business circles are generally not used to vegetarian diet, and there are considerable inconveniences in practice, because business people have many social contacts and frequent interaction. When dealing with business in restaurants, they will inevitably eat extravagant meat and seafood, drink delicate wines and smoke famous cigarettes. How can someone be like me inviting guests to eat boiled cabbage and raw bean sprouts? I persuade people to be vegetarian to protect their health. The hardest to persuade is the business people. They always say, "It's not that I don't want to be a vegetarian, but that's mission impossible." Some others say, "There are so many people eating at home, including children. It's improper to order them to follow me to have a vegetarian diet." In fact, that is just an excuse for insufficient determination. Miss Y and her husband Mr. C obviously also have this kind of difficulty and inconvenience. They were not able to fully accept my early advice's implementation of vegetarianism, which is also what I have foreseen. Miss Y and her husband live in Hong Kong, where most people they usually contact are meat eaters and don't care much about health. It's unavoidable that they would have hesitated. Mrs. R often travels between Hong Kong and Canada. Every time she goes to Hong Kong, she will show my articles to Miss Y and pass on my advice. What I have seen the disease in the patient's body is in the incubation period. Generally, the patient won't believe my observations until the outbreak of the disease. Once the disease outbreaks, they will become panic and come to me. That is commonplace, not only for the C family. Miss Y called me several times and asked me to diagnose other people. Although we never have a deep conversation, I have a few impressions of her. I remember this new friend who I have never met, partly because she is Mrs. R's assistant, also because she speaks very freely and precisely, neither wasting time nor asking for any service for herself. I remember that it was about the end of 1987, close to Christmas. Mrs. R called me from Hong Kong and said, Miss Y's husband felt unwell and was admitted to the hospital. The doctor has not diagnosed what the disease is. Can you check for him to see if it's the kind of disease you predicted? Miss Y is by my side, can you talk to her? I reply, I remember my prediction. Which hospital does her husband live in now? Knowing the location makes it easier for me to see. Mrs. R tell me that Mr. C is admitted to Kwong Wah Hospital on Waterloo Road and told me the ward number. Thus, I don't have to spend too much energy looking around for it. Many people call me and say their relatives are sick and ask me to see them, but they refuse to tell the patient's name and address. It is very difficult to find them this way. People think that I can find patients among millions of sentient beings at any time. That's too much of an overestimation of my ability. I don't have that much power. I once lived in Hong Kong when I was a child. But back then, I do not have the opportunity to go out by myself. I have left Hong Kong for more than 30 years, and I have never returned to the old place. Hong Kong is completely new to me. I successfully found Waterloo Road, head northeast, and found the historic Kwong Wah Hospital. I also found ward number 1 on the 9th floor. The searching process doesn't cost me too much time. Oh, I found him. I said to Mrs. R on the phone. This Mr. C is tall and thin, looking haggard. He was apparently a good swimmer in his youth and participated in sports events. He's so capable that he could even swim across the sea. It's a pity that he has been harmed by tobacco and alcohol. Maybe he has quit already, but it's too late, and his liver has been damaged. You are right, Mrs. R said. What kind of disease do you think he has now? Is it liver disease? He already has a malignant tumor in his liver, the size of a fist, occupying about 2/3 to 3/4 of the whole liver, and every petal of the liver has it. That's liver cancer. Faun saw a tumor with the size of a fist. Mrs. R tells Miss Y next to her, and said it is malignant liver cancer. Would you like to talk to Faun directly? Miss Y takes the phone and talks to me. Did you see my husband? What do you think of him? You saw his liver having cancer. I'm very alarmed. Is it true? I see that his liver has cancer with a sclerotic shell. I also see your uterus shifted, and there was a fibroma in the dissection of the uterine wall, so you feel a lot of pain, but your husband hurts more than you. Yes, he keeps talking about stomachache. Miss Y says, yes, I also have a stomachache. You were right, but my doctor didn't tell me that I had a uterine shift. His doctor and the hospital have not announced that he has liver cancer. The doctors in the hospital suspected that he has liver disease, but they have not yet come to a conclusion. The diagnosis report will not come out until next week. So what should we do now? I say, hurry up. This type of liver cancer can't be delayed for a long time. Your uterine displacement can be delayed for a while, because it is still a benign fibroma. I think you should discuss with his doctor to do surgery for him to remove the cancer tumor, the sooner the better. Isn't it dangerous to have surgery? She says in fear. She was originally a calm and settled lady but began to panic at this moment. Can he not be operated? Is there any other way to save him? He has reached such a stage, and I have no way to save him. I say, I can only suggest that he must have liver cancer surgery as soon as possible. You are right, it is very dangerous to have surgery. Most of his liver has been invaded by cancer cells. The chance of successful surgery is very small. It can be said that the hope of surviving is merely 1%. However, if he does not have surgery, he would have no hope of surviving for long term. It looks that he only has 3 months of life left at most, or even shorter. Layman Faun, Miss Y, a woman as capable as she is, can't help crying, please save him, I beg you. There is nothing I can do about it, I say, the only one who can save him now is Guanyin Bodhisattva and the doctor. Why don't you pray to Guanyin Bodhisattva? Miss Y didn't answer me, so I say, now the situation I've said has not been confirmed by the doctor. You might as well wait until next week to get the inspection report before making a decision. Okay, thank you, Faun. Mrs. R asks me, do you think Mr. C's illness is that serious? Yes. I reply, unless I have seen it wrong. Mr. C has always been very well. Haven't heard of his illness. I said, he also has the gastrointestinal disease. How can you say that he has no disease? Never heard them mention it. He just recently said that he had a stomachache, thinking it was appendicitis. That's the change from liver cirrhosis to liver cancer, I said, we'll know by the X-ray and biopsy inspection report next week. 5 days later, Mrs. R and Miss Y called me again. Mrs. R says, Faun, you're amazing. Now it has spread throughout the Quanhua hospital. Miss Y told the doctors and chief nurses of your diagnosis last week. There was still no report from the inspection at that time. Now the report came out, and I'll confirm your observations. The doctors and nurses, as well as some patients, were all amazed. It spread throughout the hospital. Everyone asked who you are? It seems that you will get much busier from now. Miss Y say, everyone thinks it's weird. Why did you conclude before the inspection? Now we can't help but believe that you really have a celestial vision. Currently, it has caused a sensation in the whole hospital, and they all say you are magical. How exactly can you see it? It's not me that is magical. I say, the magical thing is the Buddha Dharma, which is the ability bestowed by Guanyin Bodhisattva. It is the practice of the Dharma that enables me to see. That is something everyone can do. As long as you believe in the Dharma, persevering in chanting the holy names of Buddhas, willing to practice vegetarianism, willing to imitate the great compassion of Guanyin Bodhisattva, willing to help the sick, be compassionate, and visualize that the five aggregates are empty. Naturally, you can generate super capabilities by yourself. The remote vision capability is only one of the lowly instincts. I believe it now. Miss Y says, I also believe that since you can see accurately, you can surely save our lives. Layman Faun, I beg you to save my husband's life first. Please promise me. If you save him, what you want me to repay you, I will do it all. I don't have magical capabilities to cure cancer. What do I need you to repay? I say, I think you should act decisively. You can do good and release lives, which is the best way to repay Guanyin Bodhisattva, and I will empathize with that. I will obey you. Miss Y says moved, I will do whatever you say. Excellent. I say, you can feel at ease to let your husband undergo surgery. The sooner, the better, and without delay. You should know that cancer cells have occupied 3/4 of his liver. Radiotherapy, electrotherapy, or chemotherapy are incapable of curing the cancer now. The only way is to cut off the 3/4 of his liver to prevent the cancer cells from spreading to the lung lobes or other parts. But, can he still be alive if 3/4 of his liver is cut off? Isn't this operation extremely dangerous? She asks in disbelief. This operation is extremely dangerous. The hope of survival is only 1 or 2%. I say, no one can guarantee this kind of surgery will be successful. However, you have to take this risk. Because if you don't have surgery, it might spread to the entire body, and he could die in just as short as 2 months. The more you delay, the more dangerous it is. If you take the plunge, there is at least a faint ray of hope. This risky bet is up to you. In terms of human capability, medicine has done its best. The rest will depend on the patient's good karma and whether he can obtain the blessings from the religion he believes. If you can pray Guanyin Bodhisattva piously, I'm convinced that there is hope for his surgery to obtain blessings and be safe. I also plead with you to pray for him. Miss Y said, I'm afraid that we are not pious enough and won't get blessings from Bodhisattva in prayer. People say that you are pure and undefiled, and have it easier to communicate with Guanyin Bodhisattva. You must help us to pray for my husband. I say, Miss Y, when anyone is sincere, he becomes innocent. Just sincerely worship Guanyin Bodhisattva. The effect is available to everyone. Of course, I am willing to pray for you. You may rest assured to arrange the surgery. Okay, I will go to discuss with the doctor immediately. She says, with your encouragement, I decide to let him accept the surgery. As soon as you decide on the time and the location of surgery, you tell me, then I will come to help with the recitation. Are you coming by plane? She asks. Of course not, I say, I will under meditative concentration, come to the operating room with my spiritual capability, pray for your husband. And pray for Guanyin Bodhisattva's blessings for his safety. I will naturally try all my best to sustain him. Can you really come? She asks dubiously, but she was obviously moved and rejoiced. How do we know you are here? Can I see you? I reply, of course you can't see me, because what I go there is not the material me, but the spiritual capability, which is non-material. However, some patients would feel it, some patients would see a faint red light, and that's me. If you see a burst of golden light, that's the emanation of the compassionate and divine capability of Guanyin Bodhisattva. I don't have any great wisdom, so there is no such great golden light yet. My golden light is dim and thin, with red light a bit more. I know you still can't accept it, why not just temporarily believe it? In short, you can rest assured to let him undergo the surgery, and I will try my best. Okay, she said, I will call you when the surgery date is approaching. Am I conjuring a myth about myself? Absolutely not. Many patients in the hospital told relatives and friends that they had seen my red light. Also, an American doctor's father-in-law, a cancer patient, was at the most dangerous stage of the operation. He saw the red light and golden light coming. Sitting in the middle of the red light was a baby with my face, who chanted the Buddha with his palms together. After this elder recovered from his illness, he converted to Buddhism and deeply believed in Dharma ever since, and often told this passage in the Buddhist halls everywhere. 2 days before the surgery, Miss Y calls me overseas and repeatedly asks me, "Layman Faun, you must come and help my husband then." Mr. C also requested on the phone, "Layman Faun, come and save me, please." "I will definitely come," I reply. But remember, most importantly, the patients have to piously pray in their own heart and call the holy name of Guanyin Bodhisattva, chant silently will do. Do not panic. Must be calm and at ease. With the blessing of Guanyin Bodhisattva, the surgery will be smooth and successful, and you will surely be safe. Mr. C replies, "Layman Faun, with your comfort and encouragement, and with your promise to help me, I feel at ease now, and I am no longer afraid. I know that this time the surgery will be safe and successful, and I won't die. You teach me to be vegetarian, do good, and learn Buddhism, I will do them all." Excellent, may the Buddha light of Guanyin Bodhisattva shine upon you. At this critical juncture, both Mr. and Mrs. C kneel and pray to Guanyin Bodhisattva. Both of them wear the statue of Guanyin Bodhisattva I sent. They were originally a family of Catholics who came from Catholic schools. Is there a causal affinity for such a religious change? They are not the only converts to Buddhism. Many others also convert to Buddhism after reading my writings. Many people convert to Buddhism, become vegetarian, release animals, and do good deeds because of my advice and help when they are in distress and suffering. I dare not say how much merit I have done. I can only say that the great compassion of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have touched and transformed them. I never demand people to give up their original religious beliefs. I often say to people, if you believe in Buddhism, you pray to the Buddha. If you believe in Catholicism, you pray to the Virgin Mary. If you believe in Christianity, you pray to Jesus Christ. That is your choice. I am a Buddhist, so I pray to Guanyin Bodhisattva. I am not pretentious, I just think it is better to have faith than nothing. I also say this to Mr. C and his wife, but they say that they want to pray to Guanyin Bodhisattva and they want to believe in Buddhism. As a Buddhist, I naturally feel comforted when I hear it. On the day Mr. C has the surgery, I turn off the phone and close the door, not allowing anyone to break through the barrier to disturb my meditation. However, many curious visitors don't know how to respect others, and they barge in without making appointments. I hang a sign at my door that read, "During the retreat, please don't bother." But the visitors ignore it and still ring the bell, eager to see me. They usually ring the bell dozens of times, or they bump the door very hard, making a noise like thunder. They have to see me and always say, "I'm from Hong Kong, I'm from Malaysia, I must see Faun." Do they know that when I put up the retreat sign, I may be in the meditative concentration and exert all my strength to help the dying patient? Or I may be at a severe juncture. Often I have been in a faraway hospital operating room, guarding beside the patient, but interrupted by the doorbell and knock on the door. And I have to come back to Vancouver to socialize with those who admire my fame and like to see me or see their trivial household matters. In that situation, I'm trapped in a dilemma. If I don't open the door, I'll be scolded for putting on airs. But if I socialize with them, I'll be suspenseful about the critical patient whose life is like a gossamer. I'm unable to gossip with the guests. Meanwhile, my consciousness leaves my body to rescue people. I don't have that great capability. Only Buddhas and Bodhisattvas can deal with trillions of sentient beings at the same time. I am very disgusted with worldly social activities. Unfortunately, I am exhausted by my delusive fame. I have to deal with many curious people day and night. Even if I announce a retreat, it wouldn't stop them from interrupting my meditative concentration. When I enter meditation to help Mr. C, someone comes to my door and keeps ringing the doorbell, making me distracted. I have to harden my heart and ignore the person at the door, let him smash the door outside, and I will not go out to socialize. I also know that the person is getting so angry that he almost broke the door. Besides, I know that the person comes to request me to look for his lost wallet. Nonetheless, whether human life or the wallet is more important? I completely ignore the person who comes no matter how he hammers the door. I have to focus even more on the patient, who is on the verge of death in Quang Hoa Hospital in Hong Kong. The visitor leaves angrily after clamoring for about 20 minutes. He is resentful at me for putting on nauseating airs. He doesn't know that I'm an easygoing person, and he doesn't even know what I am doing. Aren't these interruptions also hindrances from the demon? Wherever there is Dharma, there must be a demon. Fortunately, he only stayed for only 20 minutes, which is not too long. Otherwise, I would not be able to keep my spiritual presence at ease in the hospital. When I come to the hospital, I see that the patient has been injected with general anesthesia. That was also a very important juncture. If there is a little more anesthetic, the patient might die. This kind of danger often occurs because each patient's constitution is different, and the ability to accept anesthesia is different too. When the visitor banged at the door, it was when I was guarding beside the patient's bed. I was so distracted by the pounding on the door that I couldn't protect him with all my strength. Fortunately, he is not in danger. Also fortunately, Guanyin Bodhisattva has shined golden light on him. They push the patient into the operating room. During the operation for about 5 hours, I have been by his side and keep chanting the holy name of Guanyin Bodhisattva for him. I'm watching the arduous and stressful operations performed by the 4 doctors in the surgical team, and how the 2 nurses pass the applicable surgical instruments to the doctors. How the doctors use the knife to cut the patient's abdomen, how to use the instrument to support the cut abdominal muscles. How to clean up the blood, how to tie up the blood vessels, how to remove the huge liver cancer. When I look closer, I see that the tumor is as big as my 2 fists. The rot and stink of liver cancer is disturbing. Looking down from the air behind the surgical headlights, I keep chanting the holy name of Guanyin Bodhisattva for the patient. During more than 5 hours of complicated surgery, the cold sweat on the foreheads of the doctors, the nervousness of the nurses, the dreadful atmosphere in the operating room, all of which are indescribable. The hazards of tobacco, alcohol, and eating meat have brought lots of disasters to people. Why do the worldly people still not awake? Why don't they quit smoking, drinking, and abstain from eating meat? People in the world did not believe in cause and effect and despise it as superstition. When seeing the evil cause of eating meat, tobacco and alcohol and the immediate evil effect of cancer in this life, don't they feel chilled and frightened when seeing this? Mr. C has understood and awakened in his mind. When I see him struggling with life and death, his mind always regrets his past habits of smoking, drinking, and eating meat. His mind is thinking of Guanyin Bodhisattva. Even he is in a coma under anesthesia, his consciousness is calling Guanyin Bodhisattva. His wife, Miss Y, is waiting outside. She is reciting the holy name of Guanyin Bodhisattva silently and also calling my name intermittently. I see the sacred light of Guanyin Bodhisattva covering the patient on the operating table, and I know that the patient will be saved and safe. I am with Mr. C, and he is transported to the post-operative recovery room, where I keep chanting Guanyin Bodhisattva for him until I think he is in a stable condition. Then I withdraw from my meditation. Again, there are already some visitors waiting impatiently at my door. They didn't know what I was doing. Someone asks me, "Are you sleeping?" "Sort of," I reply with a smile. After surgery, C automatically changes to a vegetarian diet, worships the Buddha, recites the sutras, and becomes a devout Buddhist. He recovers so quickly, which surprises the doctor. He later made an overseas call and asked me how he is doing. I say, "I am very pleased with your recovery and progress. Just continue to recite Guanyin Bodhisattva, be a vegetarian, and do good deeds. Guanyin Bodhisattva will have new miracles for you." "What is the miracle?" he asks, "Can you give me a hint in advance?" "Guanyin Bodhisattva will gradually regenerate your liver back to its original state." I said, "You have excellent roots, had wisdom in the past, willing to believe in Buddhism and do good deeds. You will surely get good rewards." "Is it possible?" he asks suspiciously. "Only a quarter of my liver is left now." "After half a year, go see a doctor and take an X-ray." I say, "You just recite the holy name of Guanyin Bodhisattva more." More than half a year later, Mr. C and his wife call and whimper gratefully. The spirituality of Guanyin Bodhisattva is inconceivable. "I know, your liver is gradually growing and regenerating, and it has grown back by half now." I smile and say, "The X-ray picture shows it, right?" He says, "Yes. Yes. Have you seen them all?" I smile, "Piece of cake." The miracle made a sensation in Kwonghwa Hospital. Ms. Y says, "It is an unprecedented miracle. Thank you so much." Wrong. You should say, "Thank Guanyin Bodhisattva." Yes. Thank you Guanyin Bodhisattva. Mr. C, you should immigrate to outlying islands. Fresh air, light walks, and vegetarian food and fruits will make you recover faster. I suggested. The island is quiet and suitable for reciting sutras. I will listen to you, he says. I will be a vegetarian from now on. I will try my best to do good deeds and practice. Mr. C later moved to an islet to avoid worldly entertainment, and his liver was gradually regrowing. As for his wife, she later follows my advice and accepts the surgery to remove the uterus and its fibrous tumor. My consciousness also goes to the hospital to help her, but it is not Kwonghwa Hospital, it's another hospital. She is safe too. Now both husband and wife become devout Buddhist vegetarians, and both their health have improved. They and I have also become good friends, and we often have phone calls. They also begin to help other unfortunate cancer patients. I asked them to go to the hospital on my behalf to visit some cancer patients who requested my help. Ms. Y is willing to go and shares the above-mentioned personal experience with the patients and comforts them. She became a vegetarian promoter, and I'm delighted with it. A female head nurse, a doctor, and several patients at Kwonghwa Hospital knew the above things, so they contact me one after another by letter or phone, asking me to diagnose their diseases. Later on, my name spread to other Hong Kong hospitals. The medical staff and patients in Queen Mary Hospital, Prince of Wales Hospital, and Queen Elizabeth Hospital come to me one after another. People may mistakenly think that I do have some supernatural capabilities. In fact, how can I have any supernatural capability? I just analyze diseases and pray to Guanyin Bodhisattva for the patient, and they obtain the miracle by virtue of their pious prayer to Guanyin Bodhisattva. Which has nothing to do with my minor efforts. I have come into contact with many liver cancer patients. There is yet no second one who is as lucky as Mr. C so far because their karma and confidence are different. I have witnessed many miracles of relief from suffering by Guanyin Bodhisattva, and I can't write them all. This is a particular case. Isn't it? Who heard that a liver cancer patient can still survive even his 3/4 of the liver is cut off, and his liver can grow again and recover. Postscript. There are unpredictable variables in the unseen world. Not long after this article was published, when the monthly publication was delivered on the way to Faun's home, Mr. R drove to a banquet on a stormy night. On the way home, he hit head-on with a drunkard's car and had a car accident. Unfortunately, Mrs. R passed away, and Mr. R was fortunately well. Mrs. R is a devout Buddhist, and she did many good deeds. Why did such an accident happen? Faun said, Mrs. R was originally a long-lived person with fortunate and blessed looks. However, she was in adversity during the days before the accident. She was distressed inside that she would rather die. It would be best to have a plane crash or a car accident, and she would have less pain and get relief quickly. Faun warned his friends, no matter when and where you are in a bad mood, never say unlucky or spiteful words, lest you accidentally encounter the demon, who will take advantage of it.